Welcome to Podadelphia. My name is Dave DiOrio. You can find me on Twitter at @fat_lobster. And I'm joined by two guys who are going streaking. What's up, Chuck and Gene?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Gene. Hey, Podadelphia listeners. I am not going streaking tonight. It's a bit cold, and I'm a bit old and fat. If you'd like to hear more thoughts like this, you can find me on Twitter at Chuck Siders. You can find the show at Podadelphia.
And I'm Gene Zelak. You can find me on Twitter at Producer Gene. And I did streak into the studio, but you can't see that I'm just a sweatshirt. That's it.
Well, you don't have like Jason Alexander's face on that sweatshirt, do you, Gene?
No, this is my Flyer sweatshirt. I am in the running for that Jason Alexander sweatshirt, though.
Hey, you know how you get less fat? More streaking. So, did you guys have a good Super Bowl Sunday?
You know what I did? And I don't quite know why. On the whole, I think the game was better than it gets credit for, but it wasn't that good. I mean, it was fine enough. It kept my interest for some reason. The commercials are fairly lackluster. I thought the weekend was okay.
We're going to talk about it. But I thought the commercials were pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's talk about it later. And I thought the weekend was fine. But for some reason I enjoyed the whole game. I don't know why. Nothing to write home about outside of, Brady winning his 7th, but
I think you enjoyed the game because it was a largely unexpected result. That's what kind of got me. I was expecting a offensive demonstration by the Chiefs, and they didn't quite deliver it, but I was kind of intrigued by them not delivering, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And also, I think as the game went on and Mahomes became more hobbled, it was a different sort of storyline where I was really kind of rooting for him just to show what he can do, or to flip everybody off and go sit on the bench, one or the other. But I mean, there was some compelling stuff going on.
Right. Gene, do you believe now, if you ever have a conversation with someone about, the greatest of all time, the greatest quarterback of all time, if there's even a discussion about it not being Brady, is this person even someone worth having a conversation with?
I don't think there's much of a debate as far as anybody else you could sort of put in his stratosphere at this point. I mean, the conversation this year really sort of turned not from Tom Brady being the greatest of all time at quarterback and in football. He seemed to have even transcended Jerry Rice at this point. But the interesting thing to me is a lot of people are now turning the conversation to, is Tom Brady the greatest athlete of all time, full stop? Or at least the greatest champion or greatest winner of all time, put him in the same conversation as people like Tiger Woods and LeBron James and Wilt Chamberlain. So I don't know if I want to elevate Tom Brady, at least certainly not in the charisma factor, into that stratosphere, but it's hard to argue with his brand of success. And when you do it now in two different places, maybe the only positive that comes out of this is that you can sort of use it as a knock against Belichick, which of the two, I've always hated Belichick more. So if he can go ahead and just go down like the Titanic, that's fine. I don't understand why Tom Brady didn't walk off the field already with his retirement papers signed.
Well, because he won. He only just immediately walks off the field after he loses.
Right. But I fully anticipated a sort of a conversation to be an announcement shortly thereafter that he was done. But it doesn't seem to be going that way. It seems like we may have Brady and Tampa Bay 2.0 next year. So we'll see.
So this is kind of the stuff that everyone's talking about right now. Oh, Brady's the greatest of all time. So I kind of want to let's look at this game at a little bit of a different perspective here. And I want to really take a closer look at the Chiefs. And I want to say there is a scenario where the Eagles are closer to winning a Super Bowl than the Chiefs are right now.
That is a bold proclamation, my friend.
No, but hear me out, right? So everyone thinks okay, Mahomes is going to play in 50 Super Bowls over the next 25 years, and he's going to win 30 of them, and they're going to be some powerhouse dynasty. But, as we saw after the Eagles Super Bowl, that success, it hangs by like a spider web thread sometimes. Like, unless you're the Patriots, that success is like, it's so delicate. Like, a couple things go against you and it all falls apart, and you're where we are right now as an organization and the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Like, we thought, new normal, and I'm sure the Chiefs are all like, this is a new normal. Like, we're going to be in this. So what? We didn't win this one. Like, we'll be back next year and the year after that. But like, what if? And I'm going to lay out some scenarios that are totally plausible here that can just destroy the Chiefs organization.
And Dave will take no pleasure from that.
None whatsoever. I'll hate every minute.
Is number one the fact that Andy Reid is going to continue to not understand clock management? Is
no. That... Well, number one is Andy Reid will no longer coach. Andy Reid will step away from the game of football. There's too much personal strain on him. His son, things go the wrong way for the Reid family with this accident. His son's in jail. It's too much strain on the family. Reid can't take it. He either has physical issues of his own or it's just too much and he walks away. Okay? I mean, that's not a 0% chance that happens, right?
No, it's not zero.
It's small. I get it, but it's just one thing, right? So let's say Reid walks away, right? Bieniemy takes over as the interim, or I need a year off, whatever. And it's just not the same, right? Mahomes is going in for surgery now, right? On the foot. Maybe he's never the same. Or, odds are he's probably going to be fine, but maybe he's not the same. What if he gets an injury, early next season and it's just not the same? You're just not there. You don't win the division. Things don't work out your way. Now Mahomes has this massive contract. So after next season, you have trouble retaining your talent. You have trouble bringing in new talent. The San Diego Chargers have the Rookie of the Year quarterback on their team. You're going to have competition coming really quickly in your division. I mean, the Raiders are no joke. So, if you don't strike, you didn't strike this year. If you don't strike next year, 2 years from now is a really far away, and a lot can happen in 2 years. Look at it on the flip side. Eagles bring in a new coach. We think it's a joke right now, ha ha ha, but he might be a genius. Things could start going our way, and there's a scenario where the Eagles are closer to a Super Bowl than the Chiefs. Am I crazy?
Gene was going to say something, so I'll let him talk, and then I'm going to, just absorb everything you said and determine if you're crazy.
Okay,
it doesn't look good.
I think every fan base in the NFL is probably able to spin themselves in some way the next dynasty. I think it's more or less realistic for some people than others. And I am usually a shiny, happy, optimistic Eagles fan, but there's a lot of things that have been coming out around the organization right now that makes it very hard to sort of blindly put faith into the folks that are constructing the roster, which I think is sort of the key cog in this whole machine. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to get something for Wentz when that trade happens. I'm sure we're going to dive a little deeper into that in a few minutes. As far as your take on Kansas City, I mean, that is professional football and why it's so different than all of the other sports. You can't tank the way that you can in other sports because football is really the true team game. You can't just lose for Hughes. You can't necessarily trust the process because, like you were saying, there are way, way, way too many variables that even if you do these sorts of things, you're not really gaining the same sort of advantage that you do when you're talking about these high draft picks and other
I
sports.
hear you. I hear you. But how many organizations right now would trade positions with the Chiefs? I would say probably a vast majority of organizations would trade positions with the Chiefs. And, even if the organization doesn't fall apart, they're very I'm okay. Maybe my scenario I laid out is a 2% chance, but I think there's at least a 50% chance that they turn into the Green Bay Packers.
Well, and that's an interesting comparable. The Packers really have not been able to sort of find that formula that gets them to the next level. So
you have this megastar quarterback, big contract, takes up a lot of, your cap space.
And they're never really bad.
They're not bad. They're always in the playoffs. It's like they're always a contender, but not enough to get over that hump.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. And I think there's probably some space in between Packers and completely falling apart. And Jaguars. Packers and Jaguars, probably pretty big chasm there. For a long time, the San Diego Chargers lived there.
Until they moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Moved to Los Angeles, got famous, classic, A Star is Born story for you. But I think to go back to the point that you're making, Dave, I was unnerved in the Super Bowl with how much Tony Romo was talking about, Brady or Mahomes, this guy's got such a future. How many more Super Bowls are we going to see him in? Have you not paid attention to football over the years? It can go like that. A good team, a winning team, something that looks great on paper, one injury away, one offensive coordinator away, and everything falls apart. So the Chiefs could really come back to the pack very quickly. And the Eagles could ascend quickly if Jalen Hurts is the guy. If a smattering of players really step up, if we get lucky. See, poor Howie. I say if we get lucky in the draft. I don't even consider the idea that we have skill in the draft. But if a few things break the Eagles' way, then we're putting up another Philly statue at the link, Right. So it's not insane, but I mean, I wouldn't gamble on it. I wouldn't go, I'm looking at all the tea leaves and they say the Chiefs are going to fall apart and the Eagles are going to ascend.
So Dave and Chuck, who do you think gets the credit now for the Patriots' success? I mean, now you can see Bill Belichick not in the playoffs. He had Cam Newton. It's not like he had, some unknown, completely green quarterback. But Tom Brady goes, he brings Gronk with him. And you certainly can't say that he had terrible talent on the outside. But, he goes to a new venue and he wins a Super Bowl. So was this Brady the whole time? Or, was it Bill? Who is responsible? Who gets, if you were divvying out credit, you've got 100%, is it 70-30 Belichick? Is it 80-20 Brady? What do you think?
70-30 Brady. I mean, I think Belichick is more involved with the defense anyway, right?
I mean, that's what I've understood. That's why his offensive coordinators keep going other places and failing.
Brady, man.
Yeah, I would put it at 60-40, but give it sort of an incomplete for now. I want to see a couple years more of Belichick without Brady. I think this year's performance proved that Brady is the man. You can't take it away from him. But one bad season or one mediocre season does not a coach make. So if Belichick comes right back next year, the year after that, gets him to the Super Bowl, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But I'd say 60-40 Brady. Here's
the question that, I asked you guys in the chat, and you both immediately had different answers. We are of a certain age. And we've had the opportunity to, in our adult lives, watch this entire Brady run from, 01 to Sunday. Are we blessed or cursed to having bear witness to the Brady experience, the TB12 experience?
I'll let Gene start, and then I'll be the rebuttal.
Now, I said immediately my knee-jerk reaction was cursed, but that's mostly because I'm not a Patriots or Tampa Bay fan. So obviously, in the immediate present, I feel fairly cursed that this is something that I have to sort of keep running up against. Although, in our in the Eagles fan defense, it did feel really good not only winning the Super Bowl, but to win it against Brady and to win it in the way that we did. Really the last truly great, objectively great Super Bowl that we've seen in the last probably 8 years, 10 years. So it was not only an entertaining game, but it was great that it came out for us. I was thinking about this a lot today, and I guess it was prompted by reading something about how Jerry Rice sort of has deferred in his own statements to Tom Brady being the greatest player in the NFL in NFL history. And I think that give me 10 years of hindsight after Brady is gone, and I might be able to say, it was pretty cool to have him as the antagonist in the NFL for that long, because it is the weird phenomenon that when Brady makes the Super Bowl, there is a vast majority of people that are rooting just for him to lose. They are just rooting for whatever team he is not playing for. And whether that's just, an anti-Patriots bias or just you sort of want to root for the underdog or watch the guy get knocked off his pedestal. And maybe the true greatness of Brady is none of that's ever sort of affected him. He has, and it's not even like he comes out and is like the classic bad guy. But he just comes out and does what he's supposed to do.
He just brings out that you hate us because you ain't us, like, feeling inside of you.
And when you listen to him talk, he's so like on that message, and he just doesn't give off that sort of charisma that you had from even, from guys like Joe Montana or Joe Namath in particular. Really like strikes out that a guy that you could really want to root for because they just made you feel like you wanted to be friends with them. I wouldn't want to hang out with Tom Brady. I would have no interest in. I'd maybe because he could show off his rings or something, but or maybe you'd get to meet his wife. But for a guy who is the second income in his family, it is sort of frustrating that he is so damn successful and so good at his job. But I think that even with all of that said, it's going to be very hard to look back and not say it was. It certainly made the NFL a lot more entertaining having a Brady in it than had we gone a period without him.
Chuck?
Yeah, so I was on we were blessed to witness it. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot easier to say because the Eagles did beat him in a Super Bowl once. It might, if we were stymied every time, or if we were in the AFC, it'd probably be a different story. But the Eagles and Tom Brady were always sort of entwined. A lot of his success paralleled the Eagles' success. He was just always like 2 tiers better. The first, wasn't the first, I guess. It was first. First Super Bowl he went to, the Eagles were in the NFC Championship game for the first time. It was, if we just beat the Rams, that could have been us in the Super Bowl. Wow. And, we ended up facing them a few years later. I think early in the run, the Eagles and the Patriots were both 0-2, either the second or third year of Brady and early season games. So Tom Brady was always around, and football is so prominent that you can't avoid it. But he went from this guy who was Drew Bledsoe's backup, and didn't the Patriots get lucky to have this guy and go, hey, he's pretty good. Hey, he's really good. Who's better, him or Peyton? Then it becomes a question, who's better, him or Montana? and you just see this trajectory of a backup. What was he, a 5th rounder or something like that?
6th round.
I mean, I should know that. It should be tattooed on my brain at this point. But just to see from really humble beginnings to the realization that this guy is talented, to what we saw on Sunday, to go, yeah, he left a dynasty, went to Tampa Bay of all places, and took them right back and won the Super Bowl again. So to be a step removed from it for this season, since the Eagles did win that Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 52, and the fact that we kind of sucked this year, we sucked this year. It wasn't like Tampa Bay ran us out of the playoffs. We didn't have a shot. So I would think it's just nice to see that we got to see the beginning and the end of it, and sort of grow up on a parallel path to this dude.
That's what I mean. I mean, you got to see the whole journey, and there's really not that many athletes that, in your adult life, you get to see that are the best of all, you know what I mean? Like Jordan, like we were kind of young, Gretzky, we were really young. Bonds.
And you didn't have that perspective either.
Right.
I remember like sitting with my grandfather and being I'd say early teens, enough to get like what he's telling me, that this is like the greatest basketball player he's ever seen. But I didn't have it. I didn't have the catalog to go, wow, he's better than this person, better than this person, better than that person.
I think Mike Trout, we're going to be able to see his entire journey in our adult lives. However, Mike Trout is not winning World Series. So, it makes it a little bit different. I just think, in generations to come are going to say, look back and, it's no brainer. Tom Brady was the best quarterback of all time. And it's like, wow, you got to see every one of those Tom Brady Super Bowls. Like, how lucky are you? Even though when we're in it, it's like, this sucks, man. It's another Patriots Super Bowl.
Please let somebody else win.
All right. Some other stuff about the Super Bowl. What'd you think of the halftime show, The Weeknd?
I brought it up before. I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. I will admit to my own detriment that I thought I was seeing Vampire Weekend. Well, I knew they were separate people, but
what an opportunity for Vampire Weekend, though, to play the Super Bowl.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was very surprised, and I'm like, oh no, this is the other guy.
Play Oxford, but I thought it was fine. Play Oxford, comma. I think people are preconditioned to immediately tweet out how much they hate the NFL halftime show. Like, no NFL halftime show will ever be good enough for Twitter. I don't know. I thought it was fine.
In the immediate sense of it, it's much easier to be negative than positive. You mean?
Yeah, people just hate on everything. I mean, it's the age of COVID. What did you want to happen?
Well, and I mean, I guess the to your point, if you're going to tweet, you're not just going to be like, hey, that's great. That's awesome. Way to go. Like that,
right.
That gets you no traction. What you want to do is you want to tweet a meme, because that gives you the chance maybe to become a little.
But the Weeknd's running through the hallway meme is great.
Yeah.
We're going to use that forever.
Yeah. I have to say, though, this was the first Super Bowl. Those of us that get, this was way more offensive to me as someone who gets motion sick than that thing with Janet Jackson, frankly.
No. Yeah, at least her nipples stay in one place.
How good? We're looking for a trade partner for.
And I like his music. The thing is, the NFL halftime is such a bizarre sort of thing. One of the mental gymnastics things you have to go through is, at some point you get told this fact that the people that play the halftime show, they paid to be there. The NFL doesn't pay them. You know what I mean? I was always under the impression that Britney Spears got a lifetime supply of Pepsi and a big fat check when she did her halftime show. No, she did not. She got her stage covered in Pepsi crap, and she had to shell out for it. That was the difference between, what I had perceived growing up and what reality is. The NFL is basically saying, we are giving you the largest platform in the history of television year over year. So you're going to fork over $7 million weekend, and then, also pay for all of your shenanigans that you're going to put up, and I imagine that sort of makes the artist try to do something. And you got to take a big swing. You can't go in that and just you got to be somebody like Prince or Paul McCartney to just go out there and sing. Otherwise, you're going to go out there and you're going to try to innovate and you're going to try to do something memorable. And I think when you do that, you sort of are going to get an initial reaction of, what the hell did I just see? But I think, like you were sort of saying, as a day, 2, 3 go by, a couple of months, you can sort of appreciate what was happening. And sometimes maybe these things are right teetering on the edge of where a trend's going to go. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. I had no idea what to expect from a COVID halftime show. It certainly, I think, brought jock straps back to the forefront, and name masks. So we'll see how things go. It'll be interesting to see what everybody's cheap and easy Halloween costume is going to be next year.
All right. Commercials. What was your favorite commercial?
I'm blanking. You already mentioned I was going to say Costanza one, but the Jason Alexander sweatshirt one, that was definitely up there for me.
That was Tides, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes it's hard to remember what they're even selling.
Product is, yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the execution of that, and just for the Greatest American Hero theme song being stuck in my head, and the Believe It or Not, George is Not Home. Has been stuck in my head ever since.
Yes.
There are a few other ones, but there's nothing sticking out to me. That's where I said the commercials were kind of duds, because there were things I enjoyed in the moment, but I forgot, the Paramount Plus one of the new streaming service.
I could take that. Yeah, I was a big fan of the Scott's lawn one with the Travoltas dancing.
See, I missed that.
Oh, you missed that one. It's good. Look it up. And the Travoltas were great, but it's got my girl Emma Lovewell in it, who is my preferred Peloton instructor. So I was happy to see her get some work. Gene, did you have a favorite commercial?
I really liked the one where they were sort of playing around with the 5G breaking up of the cell phone call between Gwen Stefani and Maroon 5 knucklehead.
Adam Levine.
Yeah, sure. Not Zach Levine. And I like making fun of the Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani thing. So anything that sort of pokes fun at that relationship, I'm sort of down for, because they seem like such an oddly matched pair. So I think it's ripe for humor that he sort of plays up that he's like a country boy yokel and she's glamorous. And I think it is sitcom fodder. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen CBS like jump on some sort of variation of it.
Gene's just sitting there with Gavin Rosdale, both of them bitter, yelling at the screen.
I have to give a special mention to Grubhub. I thought both of their commercials were really, really good. The one with General Lafayette in the beginning of, and then the Wayne's World one towards the end. We're both really good.
It sort of made me ready for Wayne's World 3. I've only been waiting for like 20 years for that.
Cardi B was great.
But I mean, with Debbie Diggs and Sesame Street, that one I had an emotional journey with that one. That was like, Sesame Street shouldn't be selling out. And I'm like, well, they've been selling products since they began.
Sure.
And
Sesame Street, get yours.
Well, yeah, Sesame Street, get yours, because we as Americans have let Sesame Street down. They didn't end up at HBO do their own greed. No, because we didn't support them. And the Children's Television Workshop.
True.
There's a new documentary coming out. It's called Street Gang, based on the book Street Gang. I recommend them both. But I felt like the Sesame Street Muppets shouldn't be shilling. But you know what? They got to eat. And if they have to eat, DoorDash is a great way to get that food.
Yeah. Was one Grubhub and one was DoorDash? I thought they were both Grubhub. So you probably
I could be
corrected
wrong
me on that.
And
the reason we've been talking about the Super Bowl for the last 30 minutes is because the Eagles couldn't pull off this damn Wentz trade yet, which we thought was going to be timed up perfectly with our show. So what's the deal? What's the deal? To bring back the Seinfeld stuff. What's the deal with this trade? Like, Howie's asking too much, right? Are we overvaluing Wentz?
Well, is this one of these things where Wentz now sort of is reinforcing the issue? The sort of thing we sort of were told, or at least what seemed like was the gears turning behind the scenes, was the new coach was sort of being interviewed with the eye towards you think Wentz is something that we can still work with. We have a lot of money invested in, a lot of emotional capital invested in this player, and we would really like this to work out. And then to sort of hear the leaking through the systems again. I don't know, maybe we have another anonymous leak or something, but apparently Carson Wentz has got no problem with Jeff Lurie, talks to the new coach, but will not take Howie Roseman's calls. And I don't really know how things have gotten this rotten in Denmark, so to speak, with Roseman, but he seems like he is at the core of all of the major problems in this organization. And I was one who was quick to give him a lot of credit for building that roster in 2017. But maybe it was a little bit of good roster management and a lot of luck that sort of pulled that whole thing together. But I'm certainly not comfortable turning over what could now be the draft to find another franchise quarterback, because I don't want to hear that Chicago ships back Nick Foles and now all our problems are solved, because that's not the case.
Well, there are more things dreamt in heaven and earth. Right? How's the quote go? Wait, in your philosophy. Listen, I don't care what they're asking for. I think if the Bears trade for Carson Wentz, I don't care what they give up, Carson Wentz is automatically the greatest quarterback in Bears history.
Better than Jim McMahon?
Yes. Jim McMahon? Seriously?
He won a Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Okay.
Well, are you talking about like more physical talent, more tools at his disposal, sort of thing? No. If the Bears, if Carson Wentz is on the Bears right now, he's the greatest quarterback in Bears history. That is another bold statement. What has he done?
Okay. Who's the greatest quarterback in Bears history?
But do we know that it's Carson Wentz from 2006-17, or do we know that it's Carson Wentz?
I'm just telling you, Carson Wentz's talent right now, he's the best quarterback in Bears history. It's Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's the best quarterback in Bears history.
Well, then Carson Wentz is better than Jay Cutler.
That's what I'm saying. So Bears, do it. What?
Why are we saying that he's automatically better than Jay Cutler? We're saying... But what did Wentz do this year? Like, I'm not trying to run him out of town, but I'm saying like the grass is always greener on the other side. It's like we spent a whole season.
No, I'm standing on the grass. Okay, it's my lawn. I know.
So your team keep Wentz right now.
I didn't say that. All I'm saying because.
So wait. If Jalen Hurts goes to the Bears, is Jalen Hurts the best quarterback the Bears ever had?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
All I'm saying is if you stack the greatest quarterbacks in franchise histories all next to one another, the Bears is pretty fucking low.
Yeah,
that's true. Granted.
And I think that if they make this trade for Carson Wentz will be the greatest franchise quarterback in Bears history. Statistic-wise, I mean, maybe he won't win a Super Bowl, but statistic-wise, I believe that will pan out. So the Bears should make this deal, and they should do everything they can to make this deal.
Is a number one this year and Nick Foles enough for you?
For me, yeah, it's enough for me. But if the Eagles think, if Howie thinks he can get 2 1s, which it seems like that's what he thinks he can do, and he's just going to play the waiting game and see if someone caves, then do it. I mean, I don't care.
And Wentz is sort of let his people let it out that he would prefer the situation in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Well,
we'd prefer to make
how
some
quarterbacks do in Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Gene, you mentioned like Wentz is fine with, fine with Laurie.
Yeah.
Was fine with Doug. Wasn't fine with Doug.
Doug. There was no comment on Doug recently. He likes the new coach. Yeah. He will communicate with him.
Oh yeah, Philly voice is must read every day.
Yeah. Sweet. But he won't talk with Howie. And it's like, oh, wow, what an indictment of Howie. I'm sorry. If you have a problem, talk to your damn boss. Tell him that, like, hey, I don't want to play for you anymore. But you can't go like, oh, the problem's Howie. Carson won't take his calls. Screw you, Carson. Pick up the phone. Tell him,
But what would why would Carson Wentz, like, why would Carson Wentz be upset with Howie? Howie has done everything to placate Carson. He's moved Foles out. He gave him a great contract. What else does Wentz want from Howie Roseman?
Not Jalen Hurts.
That's his bitch fit. Is that
I don't know. I mean that to me
you brought a little competition in.
That would be, or maybe saying things like, I have no idea what his problem necessarily is, but it seems to be maybe just, I guess, the way this whole situation has gotten handled, that it's sort of been played out in the media that he needs to go. In my opinion, a lot of the problems that could have been stifled if Wentz had played up to just like league average this year. The problem was he not only did he like fall off, his own marks, but he was detrimental to the team, and he was maybe the biggest liability late in games.
So here's the quote from the article. According to numerous sources within the Eagles and the NFL, Wentz did what he was coached to do. He simply made wrong decisions and played poorly. The looks were there. Wentz just didn't deliver. So he can throw shade at Howie. He can throw shade at whoever he wants. The problem is with Wentz and in this situation.
Yeah, he's got all a ton of shade. It's not getting there.
He's got all the skills. He's got all the talent in the world. We've seen him make, remember that? I'm not saying he could do it, but that Mahomes throw in the Super Bowl where he was like 3 inches off the ground and completely parallel to the grass, and he hit someone in the face with the ball. Yeah, I mean, Wentz can do that kind of thing. He just, I don't know, it's just not working in Philly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dave, a few episodes ago, when this first started, you said, I want a 30 for 30 of this season. Yeah. Like now I want the Jordan documentary for this season, because I have to know what's going on, because there is so much crap out there, and it's so hard to believe. It's so hard to know what to believe. And a lot of fingers go back to Howie Roseman for really poor drafts, for the most part, for poor drafts and not assembling the best team around these guys. But how does that function in a locker room? Is everyone sitting around pissed off that their GM didn't do enough? Does that make a bad locker room? I don't think so. And all this being out there, if Carson Wentz out of town, this has just got to be, tanking his value. It's, as long as there are two teams interested, the Eagles should get something decent back. But when you're hearing all this drama, it's not like, oh, this is a guy to solve our problems, So I don't know who to blame. Some of it's got to go up to Laurie of like, hey, get your house in order, man. With all this leaking getting out there, something is not right. Fix it. Shut it down. Whatever the dysfunction is, get the hell out.
Is there a chance that Wentz does not get traded?
I think there's a chance,
It's starting to bubble for me a little bit. Like the longer this goes on, maybe there's this chance that he doesn't get traded at all.
I really thought that was going to happen. I really thought that the deal was sort of very, very close to in place, and it's sort of, I don't know if it's written in stone, but it's not, good form to make a trade like that the weekend of the Super Bowl. It's sort of the common practice to let the two teams that are playing for the championship have the spotlight. But it's then also not uncommon to see Monday or Tuesday after the Super Bowl to see big moves get made. And the Eagles do love to sort of snag a headline when they have the chance to sort of push themselves up to the top of the heap. And the Phillies have been getting a lot of Phillies and Flyers and Sixers have been getting an awful lot of headlines lately about some of the things that they've been doing. So the Eagles have sort of been back of the pack. It's about time for them to make that move to sort of reassert themselves as the team in the city. But the other thing is, how does this read to the fan base as far as what happened with Doug Peterson? We all sort of thought that Doug got shoved out of the way because his relationship with Carson was toxic. It doesn't appear that might be.
The articles sort of alluded to Doug trusting the players so much, trust, and then giving Carson all of this flexibility, like these go to the line, make a decision, do the kill plays, all this stuff, and then he wasn't executing. So then Doug kind of reined him in with some more structured plays that Carson didn't feel like, or he didn't. He felt some kind of way about that trust being removed, and that's what damaged the relationship with Peterson. But the whole time, Peterson's like, dude, I'm trying to help you out here, man. Like you're not succeeding doing what we were doing. So I'm trying to help you out, some rollout, and stuff like that. But it also said that any sort of speculation about Wentz tanking plays or not running stuff intentionally is just complete bogus.
Yeah. And I wonder if the perception that we ended up getting from Doug Peterson, it's fascinating to me that as the season was wrapping up, we were talking about Doug yanking Hurts to sort of get a better draft position, because I think we've clearly seen it did absolutely nothing for Doug to do that, because Doug is not going to get the benefit from that draft pick, because he's looking for a job. So it wouldn't make any sense at this point to really, unless he had been given some sort of order from on high and his job was guaranteed. I don't see that he would have done that, which sort of then once again sort of spins all of the things that are happening in this organization into a whole, we can look at these situations and we think we know what's going on, but sometimes maybe we overthink it and we think there's a conspiracy here more than there is. And maybe sometimes they are just stupid.
Well, I think we're at the point now where all we can do is wait, and hopefully somebody says something that gives us a little insight onto what the hell's going on with this situation. But for right now, we just wait. Now, we do have two other teams that are actively playing sports. Actively playing sports in Philadelphia. So we have the Sixers coming up at 10 o'clock. So I know we're going to want to go check out the watch party there. So until then, I do want to talk a little COVID Flyers talk. Dr. Chuck, what's going on with the Flyers?
All right. Well, so far there are 3 patients for the Flyers. It is Sanheim, Braun, and Giroux. And I don't think it's official that anyone has COVID, but I mean, they have COVID.
Yeah.
They have COVID. And we're not going to see the Flyers play for a bit. I think the earliest possibility, is Sunday against the Rangers. The game that was been scheduled tonight, Tuesday, against Washington has been postponed.
Yeah.
Was that your Herb Brooks?
It was. Yeah. Flyers will be playing
tonight, boys.
Tonight.
I'm sick of hearing about the Soviets. Oh, it's such a great movie. But yeah, no Flyers game tonight, boys. No Flyers game against the Devils. The Devils, everybody's sick on the Devils. That's disturbing. They have in the teens people with the COVID protocol.
The Devils are the Devils.
The Devils are sick.
More Seinfeld. I love it.
Yes. But the Flyers are going to be out of action for a bit. And if this spreads a bit on the team, which it probably will, and probably more people will be going on that COVID list before people start coming off of it.
Yeah,
that series against the Rangers might get pushed as well. Now, the nice thing about this all divisional season is, well, hey, COVID's wreaking havoc on most of the division. So I can't imagine that they're going to try to play all 56 games. I think at some point it's just going to go, hey, points percentage, or maybe they look around, hey, the North Division, the Canadian Division, they're getting all their games in. So, hey, North Division, your cap is 54 games or whatever. The East, you're 46 or 48 or whatever, and just trying to make it work. Before all this happened, your Flyers were in second place, both by points and point percentage. There was a lot of bitching and moaning for a team with a very good record that was definitely trending in the right direction. Yeah, there were a lot of problems on the team. A lot of problem with the play, but the Flyers were getting better, So
well,
I'm not certain. Go on.
Okay, I was going to ask you about some actual on ice stuff. Sure. Last year, when we talked, a lot of the success the Flyers had was pucks on net, and they were just generating shots and shots and shots. This year's very different. Do they actually lead the league in shooting conversions? Is that a statistic in hockey?
Well, it's I forget that exactly. They're way up there in PDO, which is how many shots equal goals. So its shooting percentage is what it's normally called, and the Flyers have an insane shooting percentage right now.
That can't last. That to me is a red flag stat.
Yes and no. The shot differential is bad. The Flyers are letting up way more shots than they're taking. But if they both come back to earth a bit, we'll be okay. And it's not like the Flyers' goals are fluky. It's when they're getting opportunities, they're capitalizing on them. And they are playing phenomenal in the transition. They get an opening. You get two guys coming in the zone, like a 2-on-1. They're scoring those goals. So this is not, man, you're not going to have this many snipers. You're not going to have this many lucky bounces throughout the season. What it's showing is the offensive talent and the offensive depth, and JVR having the best season of his career so far. It's showing things that aren't sustainable, but even if you peel it back a little bit and get the shoot and the shots up and a little more of the offensive zone time up, it'll be okay. It'll work itself out that shooting percentage goes down because it's going to, but you're going to get more shots.
Here's sort of a funky thing that I took note of. The Flyers, I think, have the majority of, or certainly more than any other team, and players that have hat tricks so far this season. I think they've got 4 of 11 in the league, 3 or 4.
It might be that.
They certainly have more
Lawton, than PK. Go on. Sorry,
Farabee has one. So, but my question is, do you attribute some of that certainly to depth? But is AV playing certain matchups to sort of exploit or open up things for one particular player? Is that why you're seeing sort of the ability for one guy to sort of flash given night to night?
That's an interesting question. I'm inclined to say no, but he's playing the hot hands. This team has 4 lines of depth, and their fourth line, or third line, probably more Their bottom six. Their bottom six are actually producing the best right now. And AV plays them. It's going, who is playing our best? That line stays together. Get that line out on the ice, whereas he shuffles the other lines more. So I think he's being smart in the usage, but I don't see line matching per se, which in the playoffs got us in some trouble where he was like, well, I got to get my best line out at the most advantageous time. Here, I think he's just calling their number more. If the fourth line is really, killing it, fourth line back out. If that Lawton Farabee JVR line has been really killing it, which they have been the last few games, right back out there. Farabee has been a key factor on a lot of the productive lines this year. That Farabee, Giroux, Hayes line early in the season looked really good. So if you have another play driver in Farabee, somebody that can play the role of a Lindblom, who maybe in the comments here, Steven had mentioned they need the healing anyway. For the I think that was in reference to the Flyers, but Lindblom, I've been a little worried about his stamina. It was a concern of mine going into the season. It is a concern going on. And him getting a little downtime, a little bit of rest, that'd be good. If he can get back into that play driver role, so you have someone like Couturier, like Lindblom, like Farabee, and maybe even a little bit of Lawton. Now you have a whole lot of talent, a whole lot of people really driving the play. And even though the Flyers aren't showing that tenacity right now, again, there's hope that it's going to kick back into gear.
Chuck, what is Gritty's belly button color?
It depends on his mood. Gritty's belly button color does change. I think the most common one I see is teal. I think it has been orange. I know it's been like rainbow pride colors. Frequently pierced with his Hot Girl Summer G belly button ring. But no, I mean, look in your soul, Dave. Whatever okay. Your soul tells you is Gritty's color. That's what it is.
Are Flyers Capitals games the best hockey games you can watch?
Oh yeah, if you don't like defense, man, sign me up. But
defense in hockey, come on. Who's like, I want a good defensive hockey battle?
Well, I do sometimes, but no, man. The Flyers Capitals, especially last season for the Flyers, even in years before, it's just that matchup where it's like about halfway in the game they say, "F it, track me." Like first 1 to 10 wins, and
Boy, the Caps got killed on those sweaters. Just changing those W's to L's, it was just brutal.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was watching the broadcast. I was like, I kind of like those sweaters. We haven't done a Fashionadelphia.
No, we haven't really
since we've been on the live stream here. Can we talk about the Union real quick? And their new jerseys?
Sure. Yeah.
We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, a little Union jersey talk. They got the old Franklin Yellow Jackets colors, the Philadelphia teal and yellow. I guess these are fan inspired jerseys with like lightning bolts. They have like a Ben Franklin tie. I think they're cool.
Yeah, they look great. I really like them. I like that sort of. It's not a non sort of canon color. It's certainly a sort of a shade of blue that has been used in their kits before. And of all the sports, I like when the MLS teams sort of go with something adventurous. And I think it's going to look good once they get out on the pitch.
Yeah, I look at their like stand because this is just like an alternate jersey, right? This isn't like
it's their third jersey.
Alternate. So I look at the white. The standard white jersey, and it looks old and tired to me next to the new like lightning bolts.
Yeah.
I think it's cool in the back, the little kite with the key on it. Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool little nods to the city, and you're right. You could have overdone it and had it sort of look like a Mountain Dew sort of version of the Union, and maybe like had a big X on it. But I like that they sort of were able to find the healthy balance between looking young and hip and sticking with something that's also aesthetically cool.
All right. Well, you know what else is aesthetically cool? The penalty box. That transition was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, transitions can be tough.
Sure.
And Gene, who is in your penalty box this evening?
Well, as we opened with streaking, I think maybe we should get close to closing with streaking. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the modern streaker into the penalty box. I really feel like the streaking movement in America sort of ended when everyone started to hop into boxing rings with things painted on their bodies to get advertising, which sort of led to this trend of just the camera immediately looking away from the person who was run onto the field, or immediately cutting to commercial. As a youth, I remember being at Veterans Stadium. My dad had season tickets, and it was a weekly occurrence that somebody would try to get on to Veterans Stadium's field. And nothing made me happier than if they got too close to one of Buddy Ryan's linebackers to just watch that guy fly like 24 feet and land at the feet of some yellow jacket Veteran Stadium security guard. Trust me, those security guards weren't hustling to get those guys on the ground. They knew that if they got too close to Andre Waters, that guy might lose his head. That made, and I'm pretty sure most CBS or Fox broadcasts back in the day, they probably let the camera roll because they knew what good television was back then. From now, ever since, I guess the advertising, we don't want to give away any free advertising on television. We've gotten away from being able to see, what happens to the streaker. To me, it was never about seeing how far the guy would run. I was never rooting for the streaker. I was always rooting for rooting for the takedown. I'm the guy that watches NASCAR for the crashes. Let's be honest. So I watch streakers for the tackles. The other thing is, these streakers are putting on more and more clothes. I feel like if you're going to be so bold, you're going to need to show a little more skin. Wearing like the yellow booty shorts, just not quite doing it for me anymore. So modern streakers, let's get back to our roots. To get back to the things that made it interesting, show a little more skin, get rid of the advertising, and be ready to take a hit.
All right, modern streakers. Gene is putting you in the penalty box because he wants to see a tackle, and he wants to see your bait and tackle. If you're going to do it right. 2 minutes for decent exposure.
Well done.
Thank you. Dave, who is in your penalty box this evening?
All right, I am going to put people who use the phrase sports ball in the penalty box. Look, sports is part of the human condition. There's a reason why it's one of the pie pieces in Trivial Pursuit. You can't just ignore it. It's just as important in the pie as science and art and history and sports, okay? And just because you don't like something, to prove you don't like it, you don't have to act like you're an ignoramus about the subject anyway, okay? Look, I'm not an astronaut, but I don't describe outer space as, I don't know, bubbly planet area, or what, like to make me look like a complete moron on the topic. So look, oh my God, what did Tom Brady win another sports ball championship? No, you know damn well it's football. You know damn well the Super Bowl is football. Stop it. Stop.
All right. For those who say sports ball, the joke was old before you started. Sports were old. It dates back to the Greeks. So if you want their literature, you want their democracy, you got to take their sports too. 4-minute double minor for sports and for ball.
Stop it. Chuck, who's in the penalty box?
In my penalty box this evening is Jack McCaffrey. Jack McCaffrey recently wrote an article, headline, "Stripped Down, Gritty Drum Bangers Insulting to Banished Sixers and Flyers Fans." If that headline seems nonsensical, you should read the article. It takes exception to the fact that there's things going on in Wells Fargo when the fans can't be there. And it contains this paragraph, read verbatim. "Last week, the franchise blessed with full fan capacity for nearly every game since 1973, found it appropriate to encourage its mascot to use the mostly empty stands to playfully sit for an au naturel portrait during a game. How coldly irresponsible is that? How much disregard does that show for customers who'd spent billions over the decades to occupy those seats?" Skip 2, "Keep the place unoccupied if it makes you feel parental. Just don't taunt a masterpiece of a fan base when you do." And I don't know if this belongs in the penalty box or the old man yells at Cloud Hall of Fame. So read the article, get the man some clicks, and let's get the man some help. So Jack McCaffrey, have some fun, enjoy life, and maybe get a prescription or two. 2 minutes for just being miserable.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have for this week. Please remember, if you haven't done so already, to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Podadelphia. Be sure to follow the Painted Lines channel, where we're broadcasting on YouTube for wall-to-wall Philadelphia sports coverage. And head over right now to go watch the Sixers watch party for their game against the Kings tonight. And until next week, have a great day at work, everybody. We are out of here.